In this video, we'll talk about the advanced functions included with the Pro-C controller. Most of these functions are hidden under various dial positions. You can unlock them by pressing and holding a button while turning the dial to a corresponding option. We'll go over functions such as Programmable Sensor Override, Delay Between Stations, Cycle and Soak, Program Customization, Program Rain-Off, Hunter QuickCheck, Easy Retrieve Memory, and more. The first function we'll talk about is the Programmable Sensor Override. This function is useful when you don't want the sensor to stop irrigation on specific stations. Start with the dial in the run position. Press and hold the minus button. Turn the dial to the start times position and release the minus button. The display will show Station 1 with the sensor response set to on. This is the default for all stations. If you want a particular station to ignore the sensor, turn the sensor to that station off. To do this, use the right and left arrow buttons to scroll between stations. Then, use the plus and minus buttons to change the status to off. The next hidden function is Delay Between Stations. A delay between stations is useful in systems with slow closing valves. Using this function inserts a designated period of time between the closing of one valve and the opening of another. This is also useful when retrieving water from a well or a pond. The delay period allows the well or pond to replenish the water level. To access the Delay Between Stations function, start with the dial in the run position. Next, press and hold the minus button. Turn the dial to run times and release the minus button. The display will show the delay in seconds. You could program this delay from seconds to hours. To program a 3-minute delay, for instance, press the plus button until the delay time changes from seconds to minutes and go all the way to 3 minutes. You can keep the plus button held to expedite the process. Another function you may find useful is Cycle and Soak. This comes in handy for zones with slopes or tight soils where the water tends to run off. Cycle and Soak breaks up the irrigation cycle into shorter segments, allowing the soil to absorb the water before it runs off. Then, the Soak option lets you program a planned period before another short cycle occurs. To program Cycle and Soak, start with the dial in the run position. Then press and hold the plus button. Turn the dial to run times and release the plus button. The display will show the first station and the cycle field will flash. The Cycle and Soak function is programmed on a station-by-station basis. Thus, you need to program a Cycle and Soak period on each of the stations you want to use. For example, let's say the zone that corresponds to Station 3 requires 20 minutes of watering, but the watering starts to run off after 5 minutes because of the soil or slope. In this case, you'll want to break up the runtime into shorter cycles of 5 minutes each. In addition, you've noticed that it takes approximately 10 minutes for the soil to absorb the water in that area. Therefore, you'll want to program a soak time of 10 minutes. Follow these steps to program the Cycle and Soak functions. First, let's set the cycle period. Advance to the desired station and press the plus button to enter a cycle period of 5 minutes. Now let's program the soak time. To do that, press the PRG button and enter the 10-minute soak time. If you need to return to the cycle mode, simply press the PRG button again. A function that can simplify the programming process is the Hide Programs option. Pro-C controllers arrive from the factory in advanced mode with 3 programs and 4 start times available. If you're not planning to use all of the programs or start times, you can hide the ones you won't use to make programming easier. The Hide Programs feature switches the controller to limited mode, which has only 1 program and 1 start time available. To access this program customization function, start with the dial in the run position. From there, press and hold the minus button, turn the dial to water days, and release the minus button. You'll notice that both the available number of start times and programs will flash. By pressing the minus button, you can reduce the complexity of the program. You can always make additional programs available again by pressing the plus button. Solar sync delay allows you to set the number of days before the solar sync sensor begins adjusting runtimes. This feature can be used for new landscape plantings. The delay feature allows a watering program to run for a set number of days during grow-in before the sensor begins adjusting automatically. To set the solar sync delay, hold the plus button and turn the dial to the solar sync position. Release the plus button. Then, use the plus and minus buttons to adjust the number of days you want the controller to run before accepting solar sync adjustments. The click delay feature allows you to set the number of days for watering to remain off after the sensor has been activated and restored. To enable this function, hold the plus button and turn the dial to off. Then, use the plus and minus buttons to set the number of days for watering to remain off after the sensor is restored. The total runtime feature allows you to see the total runtime in a program. To access this information, turn the dial to Runtimes. Press the left arrow button when Station 1 appears, and PRG to select other programs. The P2C controller also provides a simplified method for running a test program. This feature operates each station in numerical sequence, from the lowest to the highest. You can start with any station. Press and hold the PRG button. Press the left or right arrow button to scroll to the station you'd like the test program to start with. Use the plus and minus button to set the desired runtime for each station. The time entered activates all stations in the controller for that designated period. This feature is great for system tests or diagnostic purposes, as well as winterization procedures in colder climates. Programmable Off is another feature you'll find useful, especially during the rainy season. With this feature, you can program a time frame when automatic irrigation will be paused. Once this period elapses, the controller will automatically resume normal operation. Here's how you can set this function. Turn the dial to the system off position. Press the plus button. You'll notice that a 1 will be displayed next to off. Press the plus button as many times as needed to set the desired number of days off, up to 99. Turn the dial back to the run position. The controller is now set to off for the designated number of days. The days off remaining will decrease at midnight of each day. When the countdown reaches 0, the display will show the current time of day, and normal irrigation will resume at the next scheduled start time. Hunter QuickCheck is another useful function you'll want to try, especially after finishing a new installation, or when troubleshooting the wiring. This feature allows you to run all the stations for a few milliseconds to check for shorts in the wiring. Electrical issues are often caused by faulty solenoids, or a bare common wire making contact with the station wire or the earth. With the dial in the run position, press and hold the plus, minus, and both arrows at the same time. When you release the buttons, you'll see all the segments shown on the display. To initiate the QuickCheck test procedure, press the plus button. You'll notice that the controller will run a quick circuit diagnostics test on all stations. If the controller detects a short in the wiring, it'll display an error message, ERR, next to the station number associated with the shorted circuit. If everything is working fine, the controller will simply return to normal operation. The next function we'll talk about is Easy Retrieve Memory. This function allows you to save a program into memory, then retrieve it at a future time. This comes in handy when you want to quickly revert to the originally programmed watering schedule. To save a program into memory, start with the dial in the run position. Press the plus and PRG buttons together and hold them for 3 seconds. The display will show 3 dashes moving across the screen, indicating that the program is being saved. To retrieve the saved program in the future, despite any changes that could have been made to the controller, you'll follow a similar process. This time, however, you'll press the minus and the PRG buttons simultaneously, holding them for 3 seconds. The display will scroll, indicating that the original program is being retrieved from memory. The Reset Controller Memory function is one you'll want to remember. It's the feature you'll need when you want to clear the controller's memory completely and revert to the factory default settings. To reset the controller, turn the dial to the run position. Open the door to the wiring compartment. At the back of the face pack, you'll find the reset button. Press and hold the PRG button, and while you're still holding it, press the reset button for a couple of seconds. Release the reset button, but continue to hold the PRG button until the display shows done. This will indicate that the controller has been successfully reset. One final feature is Runtime in seconds mode. This allows you to input station runtimes with seconds resolution. You'll find this function useful in greenhouse applications, landscape establishment, and other plant growing operations. To select seconds mode, follow these steps. Start with the dial set to run. Hold the plus button while turning the dial to start times, then release the plus button. Press the plus and minus buttons to enable or disable seconds mode. The pointer indicator on the display will select SEC for seconds, or HH:MM for standard runtimes. With seconds mode enabled, turn the dial to the runtimes position and use the plus and minus buttons to increase and decrease runtimes for each station in 1 second intervals. You can set runtimes with second resolution up to 5 minutes. Any runtime longer than 5 minutes will be set in 1-minute increments. As you've seen, there are a number of advanced features you can use to make your irrigation system more efficient. You could program individual stations to insert a delay between stations to help with slow closing valves, program cycle and soak to improve water absorption and prevent runoff waste, run a QuickCheck diagnostics test to ensure there are no shorts in the wiring, set run times in seconds, and more. For detailed programming information, consult the owner's manual at hunterindustries.com.